the behavior change is the first thing, being able to detect changes in behavior, changes in patterns of behavior. I think and particularly when they become more socially isolated, more preoccupied with being on their own and not communicating very much. I think that's one. Two would be changes in their performance. They're not wanting to engage in the activities that they normally do, or not doing worse at school, or perhaps not wanting to go to school. And I think the third thing would be how they engage in their self-care. If you've noticed deterioration in their approach to self-care, and finally changes in their appetite, changes in their sleep, I think those would be the kind of overarching features that would suggest that someone is experiencing some level of distress.
Duly noted. As you talk about mental health and the protective.
Okay, now I can't hear you.
Oh, hold
Hold
on.
on.
You hearing me now? Let me see. Okay, how's now? Still nothing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as you spoke about the protective factors that societies could try to implement to help, are there things that, we could do for ourselves every day to protect our mental health?
Well, I think commitment to self-care, I think, is one major one, and self-care in its broadest sense. Um, of course, managing your physical health is important, and diet and exercise, or nutrition and exercise, uh, paramount there. And nurturing positive relationships, positive supportive relationships that allow you to be genuine, and that you feel able to nurture a sense of well-being and a sense of belonging. I think those would be the three major things.
That sounds very easily implementable. As you said, the commitment to the process is a big part of it. Following your newspaper interview with the Trinidad Guardian and Newsday and research you conducted with Dr. Donald Simeon, you seem to weave several sociological themes from an individual perspective, stepping away from core values, lack of support systems, and finally, a plea for governments to support the creation of a comprehensive and effective system to deal with not just suicidality, but also mental health. And you also, you mentioned this prior that we really won't know why a child commits suicide, but we can put some things in place to make sure that it's less prevalent. Um, So the question really would be, in terms of your comprehensive system, if you were asked to head the World Health Organization's Mental Health Gap Action Program, where would you start in terms of priorities, and how would you evaluate the effectiveness of your program?
Well, the mental health gap program is a very specific one, which seeks to introduce or integrate, I should say, mental health care with primary care, which is care at the, if you will, first level of contact with health services. Um, I think the the primary issue is to get into communities. I think um, a lot of our services are um, driven by people seeking help and us making the services available and accessible for them to seek help. I think we have to go perhaps beyond that and get into communities and work inside communities so that to address your point where people might feel afraid or ashamed or hesitant to talk about their mental health issues. You create environments within their communities that allow them to do that. And in so doing, make people more responsible for maintaining their and sustaining their health. I think, again, the way our systems are set up, the idea is that when you have health problems, you go to a service and that service deals with your problems. And sometimes I think people do not take personal responsibility or enough personal responsibility for um, one, preventing health challenges, and two, dealing with them once they occur. So I think we have to kind of strike a balance there where within the community, the behavior of the community is health promoting.
I think that, we've definitely gotten not only a lot of food for thought, but also very practical things that we could implement from a personal level as well as societal. And, Jared, you've been adding to the wealth of the globe's intellectual understanding of mental health challenges for over 30 years. And on behalf of all Trinidadians, I'd like to thank you for your human service to improving humanity. And as we get to the close of our session, if you could just if people, well, you've already expressed the three things that we could do from an individual perspective. I think you're particularly calling on us to embrace some personal responsibility for our health and to really commit to that process. Uh, in terms of, the government starting and doing more to support the vulnerable members within our society. Well, I mean, there are services that are available, but how could we perhaps, have things a little bit more integrated? You said comprehensive and effective. How could we make things more comprehensive and effective?
Well, I think we have to identify who needs their help more accurately and um, more comprehensively. Um, so that's one. I think two, we have to tailor what we provide to what is needed. Um, and I think three, we have to maintain the lines of communication with them to see whether, in fact, we're meeting their needs. So the first implies a kind of ongoing research approach where you're constantly getting information from the community to identify um, what the issues are, why the issues affect particular groups of people. And secondly, having done that, or while doing that, you develop services that specifically address the needs of the community that is being served. I think we one of the big things with health and definitely for mental health is that one size doesn't fit all. So you have to tailor what you're providing to the needs of the people that you're providing the services for. And thirdly, there has to be that ongoing dialogue where they get to tell you whether you're meeting their needs and you get to say, well, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, so that the service or the services are able to grow in a way that organically feed the development of the community.
So it sounds as though not only is it an ongoing process, but it sounds as though it has to be constantly evaluated and communication, the lines of communication always open.
Well, I think again, yes, and I always I'm hesitant to use the word evaluated or evaluate. I mean, although it is what has to be done, but I think um, that evaluation has to be flexible and it has to be personal so that it's not just doing surveys or um, sending satisfaction flyers around and asking people to fill them out. It's really about communicating with people and finding out what their feelings are about the services and creating an environment where that process can take place in a way where people don't feel that they will be victimized for being critical or that they'll be discriminated against for being critical or that their needs will not be met because they're not deemed important.
Powerful. Well said. Well said. Jared, thank you again so much for, your time, your wisdom, and your continued dedication to improving life, not just for Trinidadians, but for everyone across the globe. Um, Please be sure to click to subscribe to our channel. You'd be provided a list of resources that Jared has published along with his collaborations with his colleagues. We look forward to hearing your comments and to learning more about what we could continue sharing that would improve and empower your lives. Thank you again for joining us.